Tavis, that's not in my heart. I wasn't coming for anyone like that. I apologize, but that was not me. That's not in my heart. And like I said a few moments ago, I have a solid, demonstrable record of shared power that's real and concrete. That can't be misinterpreted.
Join Tavis Smiley and an all-star panel of political insiders, influencers, and journalists for a look back at the crisis that shook LA City Hall when 4 Latino leaders were caught on tape making racist, demeaning, and derogatory statements about black people and other fellow citizens on Monday, October 9th, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. The tape, 1 year later. We'll broadcast live an afternoon drive from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. When all was said and done, was more said than done. 1 year later, are there fractures in LA's black-brown political partnership? And where do we go from here? Don't miss The Tape, 1 year later. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, Monday, October 9th, live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an immediate encore presentation from 7 to 9 p.m. We've got a lot to talk about.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DePrima go way back. Time Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DePrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. Yes, I'm Dominique DePrima. This show is called First Things First, in case you didn't hear it on the song. My first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it going. Yes, indeed, it is my honor on KBLA to get things started in LA, particularly South Los Angeles. You know what we do. Hour 1, we look local. We do the left coast. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive with on a topic, with a person of interest, a thing. Today, we're back on reparations. We are not backing off of reparations, by the way. Rashid Littlejohn will be my guest. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. But I am so excited to have with me in studio, which means you can see him on the YouTubes, a longtime community activist, community organizer, even though folks forget, y'all must have forgot, he was executive director of the Community Coalition, now proudly represents the 8th District of Los Angeles and chairs the city's planning, land use, and management committees, among many other things. In his first 18 months as a council member, he authored Proposition HHH, a $1.2 billion bond for permanent supportive housing, and so much more. Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique, and good morning to the KBLA family. It's good to be here, starting the morning with gratitude. It's the best way to start any day.
It is, absolutely, and I love that you are willing to come in. A lot of folks want to do it on the phone, but we like to see your face,
yes.
Feel your energy, and so, we'll get into all the controversies and all of the fun things going on in the 8th District in the city of Los Angeles. But first, what's good?
Well, what's good is I'm feeling really good about the situation at Los Angeles City Hall. It was a really dark
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
So every other month, somebody's being indicted, and then these recordings, which we're now almost a year out from those recordings. We got a new set of people on the council. Councilmember Soto Martinez, Mexican American union activist all his life. Grew up in the neighborhood, around Florence and Central Avenue. So he knows us.
Right, that makes a difference.
Went to Jordan High School. And then Eunice Hernandez in the 1st District, the one who did Measure J to require the county to spend a portion of their money on prevention, has just been, she's spent time as a police abolitionist, but also a criminal justice reform advocate that actually gets stuff done, like that changes policies, whether it's the bail policy, whether it's sentencing, and whether it's how much the county spends on incarceration versus prevention. Tracy Park from the West Side, even Tim McCosker, who's been around City Hall forever but never been a councilman. Just really good new energy, and we're able to get good stuff done. I think we're close to figuring out the redistricting issue, which was the subject of those tapes, those recordings. That young people tease me when I say tapes because
right. What are those?
Like, what are
tapes?
Right.
Yeah. Well, so it's amazing. Tavis is doing that special. It's amazing that it's been a year.
Yeah.
And this redistricting situation is, I know things move slow in government.
Yeah.
But the redistricting situation is still on the table. What are we doing about it?
It's still on the table. We're getting close to the finish line on the council side. So 2 things have to happen. The council has to figure out, here are the proposals, and then we forward those proposals to the voters, because this is a charter. This is decided in the charter, so only the voters can change the charter. The politicians can't. So we will put something in front of the voters. We're very close to a vote. Most of the key issues have gotten figured out. One of the ones that it's not quite a sticking point, we're just trying to do wordsmithing at this point, is around the assets. So we had the big fight, which was
what goes in what council district.
Yeah, what goes in what council district, who decides, all that kind of thing. We're trying to figure out how to wordsmith that. But what's good is there's general agreement. This is how it should go. And it's just a question of how it's worded. And when you're lawmaking, it's very tough because you have to think about what the people who are looking for loopholes are going to think about. So you have to put that hat on.
What does the tricky person do?
Yeah,
here?
what does a tricky person do?
Yeah,
and if you're not a tricky person, it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, but when you say a vote, you're talking about the city council voting on what they want to present to
the voters.
Us,
that's
the
right.
voters.
That's right.
Got it.
But that's the key. So we have, I think the deadlines for us to get something in front of the full council for a vote is the end of this month. And so we'll debate it and discuss it. There'll be hearings for about a month or 2, and then we'll take a vote, and then that goes on the ballot.
Now, does that preclude it going to the state? Because I know there was a bit of push and pull about whether it would be handled in the city or state level.
So, thanks to our Assemblyman Isaac Bryan, he put forward a bill that basically said all cities of a certain size are required to do this. I forget what the number is, but obviously LA is the biggest city in the state. Of a minimum size are required to do this. If they do it on their own before 2030, then this bill doesn't apply to them. If they don't do it by 2030, the state imposes their system on that city.
Got it.
Or county.
And so what about this expansion of council districts? Is that going to change the moving around of assets? It seems like it would.
I think it's key. I think it's key. And I think, it matters. It's interesting that you raised that. You have a scenario where, let's just say the West Side got divided into 2 districts, and Westchester was part of the one district in the South, and then sort of, Venice, Brentwood, Palisades is another. You could theoretically have Venice Beach in the district with Westchester, and the neighborhood of Venice in the other district.
Right.
So you do have to deal with this question of assets. I don't think there's any way around it. It's sticky. It's ugly. People don't like to talk about it, but we got to get it done.
Because that's your power base in a sense,
exactly.
right? The economic engine of a district.
Right, and what conversations you're called into and what conversations you're not called into. I'll never forget I really felt the sting of redistricting when the LA was awarded the Olympics.
Yeah.
The 8th District Council member has always been at the center of the Olympics every time the LA's ever had the Olympics.
Because of the Coliseum.
Because of the Coliseum.
Right.
Well, this time I wasn't on the committee. I wasn't at the 8th District was not involved at all. We were afterthought. And that matters.
Yeah, it does matter. I'm not 100% convinced that more districts is going to fix things.
I don't think. I think there a lot of people are in the situation you are, where theoretically it makes sense. Like, oh, you have these huge districts. Your districts are the size of Detroit,
right.
and maybe we need more. But when you really start getting into the details, lots of questions come up. Like, how much does it cost?
Right.
And then does it actually increase services? So, one general manager I won't name, but let's just say a general manager that's in charge of streetlights, right? A general manager said to me, right now I answer to 15 people. So if you need a street light, Marqueece, we figure out how to get your street light done, right? Mm-hmm. You increase that to 25 people, and I'm still only one person as a general manager? That doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it. I need more information, I guess. But right now, I feel like, okay, city government is already confusing. Now I've got to keep track of 25 or 30 council persons going 25 or 30 different directions.
Here's what's compelling for me as an activist. The neighborhood of Koreatown. Mm-hmm. It's the most significant Korean neighborhood anywhere in the United States. Many people would argue it's the most significant Korean neighborhood outside Korea.
Right.
outside South Korea, right? Koreatown is not now, nor will it likely ever be big enough to elect a council person. In other words, no matter what district you put them in, at the size of 265,000, it's never enough to say their vote is decisive. The way in the 8th district, the black vote is decisive. You cannot win without winning the black vote in the 8th district. So if you shrink the districts, then you get that. And there would always be someone who represents Koreatown first on the council. And I think there's a way in which that's meaningful. On the other hand, since I've been on the council, there have been 2 Koreans on the council. Neither one of them got elected from Koreatown. So it's it's a tricky situation. It's a tricky issue.
And then you'd have to go into an analysis of whether their votes represented the interests of Koreatown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's but we also know in the black community, we know this well. Black districts can elect people all the time that don't represent the interests of black people.
Well, yeah.
So person will be black.
And that's that. I don't know if that's our special problem, but it seems to be one that afflicts us more than others. And there are many reasons for that. Yeah. We're talking with Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson of the 8th, still and now the only majority black district left in L.A.
Yep.
And continuing the conversation, you're invited in, of course, 800-920-1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity, and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, this is LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to the 28th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Fest on September the 23rd from 11 to 7 p.m. For nearly 3 decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has paid homage to the legendary Central Avenue and its influence on jazz history. jazz, blues, and Latin jazz will be featured on 3 stages of music. Co-headlining are Hubert Laws with special guest Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. Hubert Laws with special guests Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. For more information, visit CentralAveJazzFest.com. CentralAveJazzFest.com. See you on the 23rd.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, with talking with 8th District Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson. And I guess one question is 1 year in, we started out talking about the tapes. What are your takeaways? I mean, do you think we talked about redistricting in a new spirit? We got a new mayor, a bunch of new council members. But, I'm constantly hearing people dragging on social media, and I think it plays into a narrative or a talking point that politicians don't get anything done. They're all corrupt. What do you take away from that whole debacle?
Well, I think there are levels to the things. I think there are things that the government is good at fixing. So processes, the government's really good at fixing processes or taking away obvious contradictions within processes. And I think we'll do that with redistricting. Obviously, it's a big contradiction to have politicians picking their voters. The voters are supposed to pick the politicians, not the other way around.
Right.
So that you can change. The underlying cynicism about government, the underlying cynicism about power, the underlying distrust of each other and competition that you heard on the recordings, which was the most disturbing part to me.
Right.
That's harder to fix, and that isn't really politicians. I think that's really cultural leaders, faith leaders that change that dynamic, that we start with each other from a base of distrust. I think that's something that came out. So here you have Latinos, right, who are in power because of the work Black people did, and they're mad at Black people about it. Like that's
very convoluted.
That's extremely convoluted, extremely backwards. But when you get in a system that's based on competition and scarcity, that's what happens. People end up turning on people. People end up turning on people who are operating in their own best interest.
Right. And yet, the current council has elected you President Pro Tem.
Yes.
Explain what that means and how does that happen?
Council President Pro Tem, I have to be honest, I said yes to it when folks asked me to do it, and I didn't know quite what it meant. All I knew is it meant that if the mayor and the council president are out of town at the same time, I'm the mayor. So I keep trying to get Council President Kokorian and Karen Bass to go on trips together. It hasn't worked yet. But there are a lot of key decisions. So, we just negotiated a police contract, which was very, very controversial.
Yeah.
Well, there's an executive committee. Suddenly, you're on the executive committee. And I will tell you, all the time I've been on the council up until now, that committee had been, either Herb Wesson or Nuri Martinez had only been the person of color on that committee. Now the mayor is on the committee, obviously, and she's a Black woman, and I'm there and as an African American. So it changes the dynamic, and things get negotiated in that room that the rest of the council doesn't see until it's a finished product. So it's very, very important to be at that stage. We're now negotiating, for example, the contracts for all the other city workers, which is a lot of our folks, like the secretaries and the sanitation workers and the parking enforcement workers and the lifeguards and the people that work at the park. We're negotiating their salaries, their benefits, their vacation, all that kind of stuff. And it matters. It matters that on my block live people who work for the city and who do those jobs. I can bring that perspective into the room.
Yep. And you're also the city council president when the president
goes and when the city council,
not just the mayor when they
that's
both
true.
go
That's
up.
true. City council president when the council president's not there.
So, you said you feel like we're in a new era of cooperation, and you mentioned the police union contract. A lot of activists, your own friends, were disappointed.
Yeah.
And I talked to the mayor about this. She comes in once a month. That, it was such a huge increase in these giant bonuses at a time when we have said that we're taking a care first approach
Yeah, so I think there are a couple things. I think at the principal level is so there's lots of criticism and critique of policing in general and the police department in particular. But that's true of almost every system in the U.S. So if I take education, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were around when we were fighting for to reduce the suspension and expulsions. First stop on the school to prison pipeline was school suspension and expulsion.
Right.
Well, the teachers union opposed us and acted real ugly about it. They were the loudest advocates against it. About we ought to be able to throw out kids out of our class for any reason at any time. It's our judgment. We're the teachers. Openly racist policy, right? When their contract comes around, I still fight for them to get a raise because I understand that those are working people. They're working with our people. They're very important. They have a big impact on the quality of life. So I don't want them underpaid. I really don't. And I don't want a situation where LA is the last choice for people who are interested in doing that kind of work. So we want to be competitive with other cities. And so what the contract did was basically move LA from the bottom in LA County to the middle. So there's some cities, the wealthier cities pay more than LA. The middle income and poorer cities pay less than LA. So we had to do that in order to get that to that place. And then the bonuses, I have to tell you, partly because of the success of police activists or police abuse activists, namely BLM in the lead, but lots of other groups, partly because of that work, almost nobody can recruit, including LA. And LA historically doesn't have a recruiting problem compared to other places. So we offered a bonus. Our bonus is less than a third of what Alameda County offers. Alameda County right now, where Oakland is offering a $75,000 bonus to a starting police officer.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also have a much higher rate of violence than we do. But also, LAPD, for all this, is having they're on pace to beat their own record in terms of shootings.
They are on their own pace to beat.
So are we rewarding that behavior?
Well, look, we're paying people to do their work, so I think that's key.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think you say, oh, if we want less shootings, we give people lower salaries. Because guess what? The vast majorities of shootings of black people happen from cops that make less than $20 an hour. That's the reality. Like those shootings that you see around the country, like the. Oh, you're not talking about.
I'm
LA.
not talking
I'm talking
about what cop in LA makes less than $20 an hour.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The vast majority of police officers are not paid the way they are in big cities, and as a rate, big cities have a higher quality of police officers. That's just a fact. I mean, we all see the YouTube videos of. You go what are you doing? How did you think that was going to work out? You didn't think there was going to be an autopsy that wasn't going to show the bullet in the person's back,
right?
And so you want to look, if we're going to have people walking around with guns as a way of having public safety, which for the foreseeable future I think we will. You want to do as well as you can in terms of compensation. That's my point of view on it. Now again. I think we got to narrow. I'm not one of these people who says we should give people a raise and we should expand greatly the number of police officers. I disagree with that. I actually don't think that's going to happen no matter how much you pay. I mean, that's an exaggeration. I don't think the kind of raises we did is going to change the trend that less and less people are signing up to be police. And I think as a city, what we got to do is we got to narrow the things that we ask police officers to do, right? So, and that's why, I have the motion before the council on traffic stops. There's no reason why, if my taillight is out, I should be confronted by somebody with a gun. It's also not a good use, no matter how you feel about policing, it's not a good use of that employee to say, oh, I made somebody change their traffic light. And in fact, the police don't even do that. They just give you a ticket. They don't ever actually know if you change your traffic light, your traffic signal or not.
Yeah, that's a good point because you go
right.
It's a fix-it ticket.
Right, it's a fix-it ticket, and you go away. So and that person's making a lot of money to do that, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of examples of that in things that police currently handle, like parties that are too loud or whatever.
Right.
And so I think cops out of stops should be a priority. I know there's some procedural hurdles to that are being worked through.
Yeah, there are procedural hurdles, and there's a lot of what we're finding is there's a lot of state law. So, for instance, not that I even necessarily believe we should be doing this, but state law says the only person that can use a radar gun is a police officer. the cities can't even put up remote radar guns, something that tracks your speed, takes a picture of your license plate, and sends you a ticket in the mail. Can't do it. The technology exists. It's done all over the world. It's not done here in California.
Interesting. Marqueece Harris-Dawson, you mentioned when we were talking about what assets go where, not being at the table around the Olympics. And we see the Black population in LA continuing to shrink relative to everyone else. What do you think? How do you see the future of the 8th? What do you think, we need to do so that we're not left out of important conversations? I mean, I get that you can't just strong arm your way into the Olympic Committee, but other things, there are other decisions, other resources.
Well, just for the record, I'm now on the Olympic Committee by virtue of being the president pro tem of the city council. But still, a new 8th District Council person probably wouldn't be on the Olympic Committee for exactly the reasons that I talked about before. But I think a couple of things. I think one, on this demographics, we need to just watch our hype a little bit. So like in this last census, for the first time in a long time, the Black population as a proportion actually didn't go down. Now it didn't go up, but it didn't go down. So like it's not as it's not like we're not fleeing in the numbers and disappearing in the numbers that we have been, that we did in the 80s and in the 90s. When life was challenging here in South LA in a way that it's not now. So there's that. But I do think the electoral side of the Black freedom movement has to figure out how to get elected in districts that are not majority Black. And we do a lot of that. I mean, the vast majority of Black elected officials in Southern California, and we have a lot, the vast majority, in fact, I think I'm the only one that's majority elected in a majority Black district. Everybody else is in a district where Blacks are 30%, 25%. Current price, I think it's less than 20% African American in his district. But he's been able to show that community that he has the capacity to represent them. And I think our message in the electoral space is this: if we do good, everybody does good. That's that's the reality.
And it's a true point, by the way. We got news, traffic, and sports coming up right here. When we come forward, I want to ask you about, this little brouhaha around the ethics committee.
Yes.
And how,
and our friends at the LA Times.
What you want to say? What's your pushback, if any? And and also, I got to get an update on what's going on with Nipsey Hussle Square, and that, because folks are always, there's so many rumors around that.
Yeah.
It's in the 8th District, that and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Biden administration is no longer sending a team to Detroit, Michigan this week during the ongoing UAW strike negotiations. President Biden said last week that the labor secretary and a senior advisor would be sent to Michigan to support the UAW. Tuesday, however, a White House official said it would be most productive for the two to continue their negotiations from Washington. In Tennessee, Memphis police are urging riverboat passengers to check their phones for photos and videos of African-American Tamia Taylor as the search continues. Cops say Taylor disappeared on September 9th after getting on board a Memphis riverboat cruise. Taylor's friends told police that nobody saw her leave the boat after it returned to the dock. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hey, if you're thinking of getting the latest iPhone, you need to stop and check out the amazing wireless offer from Boost Infinite. To learn all about it, just pick up your phone, dial pound 250 and say Boost Infinite. That's pound 250 and Boost Infinite.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. Doctors treating Colorado's Travis Hunter revealed that the two-way star has a lacerated liver. Hunter was injured Saturday night in the first half when Colorado State defensive back Henry Blackburn delivered a late hit on a pass play. Hunter spent 2 days in the hospital. He will not play Saturday at Oregon and could miss the next 2 or 3 games. Blackburn and his family have received death threats from phone calls and social media posts. Colorado coach Deion Sanders said Blackburn made a mistake, but strongly criticized people responsible for the threats. Sanders said Blackburn doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Saturday's Colorado State game drew 9.3 million viewers on ESPN, the highest audience in the network's history for a late-night college football game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Applications are now being accepted for the City of Los Angeles Emergency Renters Assistance Program. The program provides up to 6 months of rental arrears to low-income residential renters who are at risk of homelessness due to unpaid rent as a result of COVID-19 or other financial hardship. Applications will not be accepted after 6 p.m. on October 2nd, 2023. Go online 24/7 at housing.lacity.org or call 888-379-3150 from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and see if you qualify. Apply today.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose AmeriCorps.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
To some, this might sound like a typical family dog. But at Dog Chow, we know that for a veteran suffering from PTSD, this could be the sound of life-saving therapy.
Thanks, Betty.
That's why we've made it our mission to connect every military hero in need with a canine hero of their own. To learn about the simple ways you can help Dog Chow in our mission, visit dogchow.com/veterans.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it's Marqueece Harris-Dawson, your council member. If you're in the 8th District in the studio, love that. He always comes in with us. So the Ethics Commission, normally not really in the news, except for that we've come through this incredible period of troubled times in City Hall. And we had, controversy around Alex Mejia, the controller. He put forth his ethics commission pick, and y'all voted it down 14-0.
Yes. I've never seen anything like that on the council.
Jamie York, that was...
Jamie York, yes. Kenneth Mejia's pick.
Kenneth. And now you made it a choice. Alex Johnson, a lot of us know the name from his work in the education space. Yeah. And the LA Times, kind of went after you about it. And I guess what they're pointing to is the fact that Johnson currently works with a
firm that has done lobbying and has done campaigns.
Right. And so that appears to be a conflict of interest.
Yeah. I think, I mean, look, I think that's a good point. It's certainly something we vetted out and something I was like, I don't know if we can do this. So we did the work. We went to the city attorney. We went to the clerks. We went to ethics experts outside the city to say, how does this work? Once Alex laid out his work, which, the Times did not have the opportunity to talk to him about how his business is, how that business is set up, how he works versus how the people who work on campaigns work. He did not get to do that. He took the position, which I agreed to. The council members are the ones that have to vote for me, so I want to talk to them first before I talk to the media. So he's in the process of doing that. But I think the larger point that the Times is raising, which I don't necessarily take issue with, is it's kind of like we talked about redistricting. The politicians are picking the ethics commission. So am I going to pick someone? And by the way, the ethics commission is different than other commissions in the city. They have absolute enforcement authority. So when they decide, Dominique, you did something wrong and you're getting fined $100,000, it is not appealable. You can't appeal any. I mean, you could sue the city, I suppose, but you can't appeal to the council. You can't appeal to the mayor. You can't appeal. That's it. So, yeah, I want someone who understands my point of view. Yeah, I want someone who understands what it's like to work, which is why Alex was an attractive candidate to me. Alex has actually been subject to the ethics commission because he raised money to run for school board. So he knows what it's like to fill out those reports and what questions they ask and what you have to do. And he has a basis to make decisions. I think, the work at his firm doesn't do work in city races and hasn't for at least 3 years. By the way, Alex has worked there about 6 months till now. And there's a firewall. What Alex described to me is the people that do that work, he's met them on Zoom, not even in person, because they just don't work together. They're different parts of the same business.
So, I mean, it's interesting, too. The Times says there's nothing in the city charter that would bar Alex Johnson from serving. To his credit, he's already consulted with the city attorney's office and commission staff, which, I mean, okay, that's what you did before you. Yeah. It's not that any person can go to the city attorney and say, hey, am I a good candidate for the ethics commission? Right. They carefully don't give you credit for doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they're trying to have I think the Times is trying to have a critique of the policy without having a critique of Alex or a critique of me, because I think they feel positively about both of us in general, generally speaking, but they feel negatively about the process. I mean, and that's, I think that's kind of the thing. What's interesting about that column is they say, well, there are people that don't have any conflicts whatsoever. They just never get picked. Well, I say to them, name them, because that notion that you're not involved in politics, you've never given money, you've never received any financial contribution from anything connected to politics. So that means you've never done any work with a union, you've never given money to a union, you've never worked with a community organization, you've never worked with a political party, you've never done anything of that. That has an incredible class bias. Because that means that I have to be someone who's interested and knowledgeable enough about this subject to sit in an enforcement position, right? But I've never had any official business with it. Like, that's only a very wealthy person would be in that position.
Right. Or, well, they wouldn't be knowledgeable. Yeah. I'm saying I know plenty of people that haven't done any of those things, but they don't know anything about politics either.
They wouldn't know the first thing, and it's a volunteer position, so they wouldn't even
the cast of The Real Housewives would probably qualify. For example, I'm just saying. Right. But so who should do it then? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have the city council voting and the people that will decide whether what they're doing is ethical.
Yeah.
But who should do it? Is it the state? Is it a panel of judges?
Well, I think that's one of the things. Yesterday, Council President Kokorian and I submitted a motion to ask city staff to come back to us with ideas for a full charter reform. That's an example of something that probably it's not ideal that the politicians appoint the people. And the way the city tries to cover for it is once Alex is on, if he does something Marqueece doesn't like, the council can't take him off. That's how we've tried to cover that up until now. Right. So it's a permanent appointment that cannot be taken away once it's given, right? You stay for the full.
Right, so you don't serve at the pleasure of the council.
Exactly.
You're appointed and you do your thing.
You're appointed and you're done. So that was supposed to be the protection. But again, going back to before the last segment, we got to the point where we deal with each other with so much distrust and suspicion right out the box, whether it's warranted or not, that we're moving to a place where the politicians shouldn't have any say in who it is. Some places have an elected ethics commission. Here's the problem with that for me: every time you have an election, you introduce campaign finances. So who can the person running for ethics commission accept money from? Who's going to pay for that campaign? I mean, that stuff has to get figured out.
I don't. Elected seems problematic.
Right.
I mean, I'm just having visions of the police association electing the entire ethics commission and targeting certain council members.
Exactly.
I mean, you yourself have said that it feels like, council members are being targeted. And then you get into the whole race dynamic, which is, I don't care, always there.
Yeah, it's always there. You would have a ethics commission that would target their opponents and shield their allies. That's what you would get. That's what happens in every other body where there are elections, where at least elections where you have to raise money.
And commissioners come and go depending on who appointed them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the ethics commission that is different. So there's a mayor's appointee. That person wasn't appointed by Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass can't do anything to that seat until that term is up. So the person we have now is still Garcetti's appointee.
Unlike other commissions where,
where
out with the old mayor's people and with the new mayor's people.
Right.
We have somebody in the chat here on YouTube who says the 8th is the most dangerous district in the city of LA. He's blaming you for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I would love to investigate to see if he's on the payroll of PPL. That is a line that they put out that is false, at least if you believe LAPD data. The 8th district is not nearly as safe as we'd want it to be. It never has been, but it is not. Two things are true. It's not the most dangerous district in the city, one. Two, we're moving. I mean, the homicide drops, the drop in homicides just in the last 10 years, which I've been in office for some of, but not all of, is precipitous. People around the world come here to study how we got the homicide rate to drop so low. This year, we're actually going to get back to pre-pandemic lows in homicides, which, again, easy for us to forget. Before the pandemic, our crime rate overall and our homicide rate in particular were at historic lows. They were lower than they'd been since people have been keeping track of it. So, again, I think that's false. I think that steps on the work of the police department. I think it steps on the work of our communities and especially interventionists. I mean, to me, interventionists are the community and gang interventionists are the linchpin of the safety gains that we've been able to achieve.
I mean, for me, it's a talking point that also sort of plays off the fact that there's a lot of black folks there. So it's easy for people to believe that. I've seen data, and the data I've seen makes you safer in the 8th district than you are on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, for example.
Right,
so,
and the crime now is really property crime. And, there ain't no place to smash and grab in the 8th district.
Yeah, right. What are you smashing? What are you grabbing?
Yeah.
Talking with Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. but there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time, over time. If you're forgetful about payments, like me, try automating your bill payments. That way, all your creditors get paid on time, and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Talking with Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson, it's got to be odd for you. Mayor Karen Bass is like a mentor to you, right?
Yes.
I mean, I was on the board of Community Coalition when she was the executive director, and then when I was still on the board when you were the executive director. In fact, people get on my case. Oh, you can't interview Marqueece Harris-Dawson because y'all are friends. No, I'm doing my job.
Right.
Marqueece Harris-Dawson is doing his job. But yes, we go way back. It's got to be weird having her as the mayor. I mean, she's your mentor. She nurtured, your career as an activist and as a lawmaker.
Yeah, it's interesting that it is awkward and weird sometimes when you're in a conversation and you forget, like, oh man, I'm talking to the mayor of the city,
right?
Or I'm, this is a negotiation, and I also have to be careful because I know, not only does Karen have a relationship with me, she's got a relationship with my district, right? 'Cause most of her work has been in my district, so. We have an advantage that we've never had. And I remember all the years I'd complain about, well, the mayor's from this part of town, so they get this and, they get that. And I used to secretly complain about the LA River. I was like, what does that have to do with anything? That doesn't run through our community. And so, but they would blow up the LA River like it was the godsend to the city of LA. So it's, we have to have, discipline and keep people around us that sort of break up that dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, not that you and I are as close as you and the mayor, but when I'm interviewing you, I always feel like I have to be really mindful of saying council member and interviewing not just the person, but the office.
Exactly.
Right.
And the policies and the what we've done. I think that's right. But again, and because the shorthand becomes real easy, the other dynamic that happens is, I might pick up the phone and say, remember that vacant lot on that corner? We need housing there and blah, 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 blah. And where with a different mayor, I'd have to go through, I'd have to make the case and bring the data and the traffic and the homelessness and the, cost of rent. And, with the mayor, I can just say, remember that corner that's been vacant forever?
Right. Like half a mile from Cocoa, around the corner to the left.
Oh, my goodness, that's still vacant? I thought somebody was going to do something with that. And so it's the having the familiarity with the community is both a prize, but it's also a challenge.
Yeah. What's going on with Nipsey Hussle Square?
Nipsey Hussle Square, the family is still figuring things out. I don't know if you've passed it recently. You'll see the sign for the Nipsey Neighborhood Nip Foundation.
Right.
So they'll have that there. I think there's still some decision making happening. We have to, and I want to, send this out to the community. I know these people might not be up at 6 a.m, but we still have serious public safety issues there. There's a lot of people want us to close the alley next to it.
Because of Nipsey, because it attracts people, or because it's always been that way?
It's always been that way. So that was a complaint before Nipsey passed.
Right.
And in fact, the changes that people are asking for, the problems that people are pointing out, were connected to how Nipsey was assassinated. So we still have to deal with that. Look, I'm not one that's going to send the cops after people selling T-shirts on the corner. I mean, after all, that's how Nipsey got to that corner, was selling T-shirts.
Right.
But we got to manage ourselves better, or else what's going to happen is eventually it will get so bad that we have to have a significant police presence, and that to me would just be a huge failure on all of our parts.
That would be insanely ironic.
Yeah, it's extremely ironic, sad, but at different points in time, particularly during the summer, we get close to that just because of the traffic and how it's managed and how people behave. We tried to set up a place for street vendors. Street vendors won't stay in that place. They insist on being on the sidewalk and out, onto slots. And so it's been tough. And I hate to get on our folks like that, but we got to do better. And it's a embarrassment for the entire community, but it's also just highly disrespectful to Nipsey Hussle.
The rumor is it's going to be a community center, but it sounds like we don't quite know yet.
We don't quite know. I think, and in fairness, the family's been in mourning. So, whenever you lose a family member, there's a process to transfer property and all that, and that takes a while. And then deciding what you want to do. For many family members, that's sacred ground.
Yeah.
That's the place where they lost him and the place where his story is located, on that parcel of land. So, where developers might say, oh, we could do a great Nipsey museum and housing above and a park and all that. When you have a more intimate relationship, that stuff doesn't sound so attractive and glitzy.
Yeah, I think that's right. When we come forward, I'm going to pass the mic off to you, Councilmember. What do you want to let those of us that work in your district or live in your district know? What should we be doing? What should we be tracking? That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Be ready for extreme heat in your area. On days when extreme heat is expected, take action to keep your home as cool as possible. Set your air conditioner to 78 degrees. If AC isn't available, close blinds and curtains on all windows and run fans counterclockwise. Or find your nearest cooling center. Transportation help may be available. Learn more at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
Hey Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried New Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking with Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson. And, passing you the mic. What do you want to inform us about, Councilmember?
Well, I want to let everybody know we're still on track for Destination Crenshaw. We are set to open February 24th, mark the day.
Wow.
And time. So February 23rd to 25th, Crenshaw is going to be closed off from Lamert Park to Hyde Park. So if you got to be somewhere and you need Crenshaw, you need to take another way. But we're going to have a big celebration. Over 100 pieces of Black art on public display just last week. The artists received final approval to redo the Crenshaw wall, so you'll see that work start. There will be some first the cement and the structure will be repaired, and then it'll be whitewashed, and then most of the original artists, the ones that are still living, will come back and they will do new renditions, and we'll do landscaping around that. You can see Sankofa Park. The finishing touches are being put on that as well. The Black woman on horse is in the warehouse. It is several tons, and
wow!
So we'll be
like a few cars.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 cars.
Wow!
That'll be delivered here, and several other 3D and 2D pieces of art. So we're very exciting. The finishing part of anything is always the most difficult and the messiest and the most stressful. But that's the stage we're in, and we're excited about getting it done. And we want to mark the territory. Everybody's got to be clear. We're putting these monuments there. We're putting our art there. We're putting our culture there for the same reason that our street organizations tag. They tag so you'll know you're in their neighborhood. We're putting our art here so the world will know you're in our neighborhood. So when they come for the Olympics, when they come for the World Cup, they'll know they're in our neighborhood. And then all this, how the census is going and what the elected officials are. In Chinatown, I don't remember knowing who the elected official was that represented Chinatown. I knew I was in the place that was run by Chinese people.
Right. I mean, it's the architecture and the artwork and the
language and
the statues and the street signs. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because I think there's been some misunderstanding of what Destination Crenshaw is. But I really feel like once it's open, everyone will get it.
You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean, I just want to congratulate you, because I remember when you unveiled this and it was like, oh, how is he going to get all that money?
Yeah, right.
That's a lot of money to invest in sprucing up Crenshaw. Who's going to do that?
Yeah. Well, because it's sprucing up Crenshaw, but it's sprucing up Crenshaw with Black art.
Right.
And what I always bet on was Black art always sells. Black culture sells around the world. Any part of the world I go to in any developed city, people are going to be consuming Black art of some kind, whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's visual art. And so I knew that if we put that forward and we got our best artists to participate, the ones that are from the community, I knew we'd be able to raise the money, and so far we have.
Well, that's a great way to celebrate Black History Month.
It is.
Absolutely.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it and do it big.
I know you wanted to say something. Maybe we can squeeze it in real quick about the public comment.
Yes, LACouncilConnect.com. LACouncilConnect.com. It is the website that lets you comment on issues, especially redistricting. And I'm sorry, I've been saying it wrong. It is LACouncilComment.com.
LACouncilComment.com.
LACouncilComment.com. We really need folks to go on and talk about redistricting. And I will tell you, on this thing of assets, it's one of those things where the politicians, a lot of districts have assets no matter what. Like the port's always going to be in the district that has San Pedro.
Right.
The airport's going to always be in the district that has Westchester. So those keys can't move. Downtown, the Exposition Park, things in the city, Museum Row, those kinds of things move from district to district at different points in time. So people have to know that that's actually important to constituents. That's why we need people to go on and comment on LACouncilComment.com.
Councilmember Marqueece Harris-Dawson, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Great time to call me after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the last week that the Labor Secretary and a senior advisor would be sent to Michigan to support